So the Mossberg 590 Shockwave. This is a 12 gauge firearm because it's not a shotgun, which we'll get into in a second here. And it has a cylinder bore. It does not accept chokes. And this particular model has Mossberg's marine coat, which is a rust corrosive sort of deterrent here. The standard one is just a black finish, sort of parkerized like the barrel is. Barrel length is 14.5 inches. It comes with this Raptor head grip, which is actually more comfortable than you would think to shoot with. We'll get into that a little more in a second as well. You have a loop here for your hand to grab while shooting, which I consider to be absolutely essential with this thing because you don't want to get your hand out in front for obvious reasons. Tang safety, as they have on all their shotguns here, ambidextrous, and your pump release. So let's dive into this. We'll talk about the pros, we'll talk about the cons, and we'll see what's up. So first things first, how is this even legal? I think a lot of you guys are asking. And so the reason is the wording actually with the National Firearms Act in regard to short barrel shotguns and rifles. So because this has a barrel less than 18 inches, it cannot be considered a normal shotgun. And because it doesn't have a stock on it, it can't be considered a short barrel shotgun either, because one of the requirements of being a short barrel shotgun would be that it has a stock. And it is also exactly 26 inches in overall length. And because of all this criteria, it actually is just classified as a general firearm. So while it bears a lot of similarities to a normal 12 gauge shotgun, legally this is considered a firearm, a general firearm. And to purchase this, you have to be 21 years old. And the laws in your state may ban this per se, where they may differ from federal law in terms of short barrel shotguns. This may be considered one in your state, so go ahead and check that before you buy one. But here in Pennsylvania, this is 100% legal. So now that that's out of the way, we'll go ahead and take a look at what this barrel actually looks like here. If I can get it off. There we go. So that's it right there. Very tiny, small barrel. First time I took this off, I was pretty surprised actually how small it is. But so this is the firearm disassembled, and we'll actually go over one thing that I have a major gripe with. Probably the biggest gripe that I have with this is actually the pump. And this is made out of a plastic. Doesn't look like a particularly strong plastic either. And over the course of several hundred or even 1,000 rounds, a weakness starts to develop here because you have this metal nut against this plastic pump. And so this is a 12 gauge, and all that force is being directed from the nut onto this plastic pump. And you can see, like, this is a brand new pump. I've already replaced it once, and it's gonna crack pretty soon. I don't know how many more rounds it's gonna take, but eventually this one will break as well, and I'll need to replace it. So that's something I'd like to see Mossberg address in the future, possibly fix, maybe add like some sort of reinforcement here. That would make a big difference. But regardless, the fix for the time being is just gonna be to replace it. So while we're on the subject of it, I guess we'll get the cons out of the way. Another con that I would have would be this Raptor's head grip. I did say earlier that it was comfortable to shoot, and it is indeed very comfortable to shoot. Up until about 200 rounds or so, which is a lot to shoot with this thing. But you'll notice it starts to wear a little bit on your hands. Might get a little bit uncomfortable. As well, it's hard to see, but inside the bolt actually appears to be wearing away at the coating. So this marine coat is very nice. Like, you can just wipe it and it's clean, but it looks like inside it might be wearing away a little bit where the bolt sort of scrapes against it, which is, I would consider to be a con because the metal for the receiver is exposed. This is made out of aluminum, so it will not corrode like a steel receiver would, but still you'd like to see that the finish holds up a little bit better than that. But besides that, I mean, that's pretty much all the cons I really have, besides maybe trying to aim this thing, which you know, you kind of have to do it in such a way that you're not going to get kicked in the face with it, but you also want to be able to look sort of down the barrel. That just comes down to practice, but I'd say that's about it for the major concerns with this. We'll go ahead and touch on some of the pros here. I'll get it back together. So I would consider the overall length to be a major pro in regard to this. It could honestly go either way for a lot of people, being that it's as short as it is, but I would consider it to be a pro just for the sake of storage and handling. It is much easier when it's this small to store. As I have this scabbard here, it fits perfectly inside of it, which I'll show you in a moment. I would also consider this hand loop to be a big pro, as I said before. It really keeps your hand locked in there, keeps it away from the muzzle, and also it helps to rack the bolt back a little bit more than just a standard pump. Trigger is not bad, especially for a shotgun. As I said, with the coating, that's a good feature as well. And the capacity, it holds 5 rounds in the tube of 2 3/4 inch shells. And the last pro that I would say, and this is completely subjective, but it is like really fun to shoot, just to go out and fire off a couple rounds with it with cheap field loads. It is very fun to shoot, in my opinion. So with the pros and cons out of the way, we'll just talk about something else, which is what a lot of people are probably thinking: is this a viable option for home defense? Is this something you could actually use to defend yourself or your home? And I would say probably not. The handling of this is just very difficult, being that it doesn't have a stock. That makes a bigger difference than a lot of people would realize that have not shot this before. And when you're talking about a defensive situation, you generally want to know where you're aiming your gun, and that's a little bit more difficult with something like this. Now, you could remedy that by perhaps changing out this forend here, where you'd have some Picatinny sections or M-lock, and you could attach a flashlight or a laser, whatever you would like. Also, you could probably mount a red dot up here. There's a provision for it. But generally speaking, I would say this is not an acceptable platform for a home defense weapon. So where I think this really fits in is just something to take to the range, something fun to do, something to use for fun, recreational purposes. I think more than anything, this is just, it's a way to circumvent the National Firearms Act, if you will. That was the entire intent of this. That's pretty clear, because what else would it really be for, in my opinion? It's just because they can. That's why it was made. And it is really cool to own. It's just I would not use this for any serious purpose outside of shooting at the range. So, and one final thing is I will show you how it fits in this scabbard. Also, this is a really nifty technique here too. This actually holds some ammunition, quite a bit of it. So not a bad idea. Makes it a lot more convenient when you're trying to reload this thing. And so if we put it in the scabbard here, there you go. Fits very nicely, stores very well, and it's easy to take to the range. Very compact. So final thoughts: this is not a home defense tool. This is something that you use for fun, and indeed it is very fun. And should you own one, well, if you like shotguns, this is an excellent addition to your collection and something that you can use for fun. It's not incredibly expensive. You're probably looking at about $450, $500 for one. And I think it's just excellent to have. Just another piece of my collection, if you will. So if you like the video, go ahead and like and subscribe if you want to see some more of my content. I'm trying to put out some more videos. Like I said in my last video, I'm getting my footing here, and I think I've got some good stuff coming up. So go ahead and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you.